ready when to start. Okay, it's going. You can begin.
Hello, my name is Catherine Andersen, and I'm your liaison for the Foundations of Excellence project. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been at Gallaudet University. I'm beginning my 30th year, and while there I've had a variety of positions. I'm a faculty member. I'm a professor of communication studies. I've been director of first-year experience, associate provost, dean of enrollment, and my most recent position has been chief enrollment and marketing officer. And I'm kind of going into my next career, and I'm happy to be working with Foundations of Excellence project as I'm returning to my faculty role at Gallaudet for my 30th year there. I want to tell you from two ways the way that I see the Foundations of Excellence project as a liaison working with a number of colleges and seeing the impact that it's made, but I also led the process on my own campus. And I can tell you, and I'll share you some data later, but as a result of the process, we were able to have significant 11% increases in our student retention, and we've almost doubled our graduation rates in 5 years. So I am very proud of that, and I see the power of this process. I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the process itself, just sort of an overview. And you're very, very, very fortunate to have the leadership that you have. Your liaisons are just wonderful. You have, from your liaisons, your steering committee, and these are people usually who head your dimensions and your dimension committees. There are 9 committees. I'm going to refer you to this Appendix A, and for those of you who want to learn a little bit more about it, in the handout, this little booklet that we gave out during our launch meeting this summer, and you can download it online. In Appendix A, it talks a little bit more in depth about these different dimensions. So what are dimensions? Dimensions are really these specific areas that you want to look at in your university, and they are focused on specific critical aspects of the way the institution runs. And there are 9 dimensions, and these dimensions are led by 1 or 2 faculty members or staff members, however you've decided to do that. And usually they come together in what's called the steering committee. So you have your liaisons who are leading it, you have your steering committee, and then you're fortunate to have a lot of collaboration with the whole Kentucky system so that you come together at a much higher level. Early in the process, you've identified your liaisons, you've identified your dimension committee members, as well as the heads of your committees, your steering committee, and you're also probably, hopefully, finished with your faculty staff survey, and within this next month or so, you'll be looking at your student survey. These surveys are questions that you ask faculty and staff to respond to, and then similar questions you ask students to respond to, and you begin to use that kind of evidence along with what's called a current practices inventory, which you're also gathering. And your current practices inventory looks at all your practices, your policies, and all of the things that really are happening for your students, particularly in this case your transfer students, students who are getting ready to transfer. And then also you look at some data. You look at your retention rate, you look at your persistence in males and females, you look at your high DFWD courses. Those are courses that a lot of your students take, and you look at what's the pass rate in those courses. So in this current practices inventory, your surveys, you begin to have some data to make some use as your evidence for some of the things that you begin to study. So as you go through these 9 dimensions, the process begins again with this current practices inventory and the surveys, and then you begin to gather your committees together, which you're beginning to do in these 9 dimensions, to talk about what are the things that, and the questions that in your specific dimension you're asked to look at, and what evidence and data that you have and what your surveys tell you. What are some of these critical indicators that you're beginning to see whether or not your institution is following these? So you go through this process and you use a platform what is called FoTech, and it's an electronic platform where you're able to post your evidence, gather your evidence, write your reports, so that everyone, particularly your liaisons and your steering committee, has information about the entire campus-wide process so that this lands up in your final report. Now, what we've learned in the number of years that we've been involved with the Foundations of Excellence, that institutions who implement their plan, because you remember, we'll go through this process and you're going to come up with a plan, institutions that implement their plans to a high degree are showing significant gains in student retention. Now, we know it's not all about student retention. That's not what it's about. But it's these practices and policies and how we approach our students that really results in good student retention. So as you're going through this process, you're going to find that you're discovering things that you either knew, and you've got now the evidence to confirm that, or things you're discovering that you didn't know. And you might even discover that you're not using your resources well. For example, you're doing similar kinds of activities in more than one place, or that there are gaps in the way that you address your transfer students. And so what we're finding is that institutions, as a result of this process, identify in the end some action items that they believe they need to do to make their process better. And so as a result, what can you expect? You can really expect that at your campus you're going to have a much greater awareness of what students who are planning to transfer, what are they doing. You're going to have more focused attention to what they need. You're going to have more intentional interventions that encourage transfer and ultimate graduation. You're going to have more collaboration with your receiving institutions. And you've got a potential change in your campus culture, that your campus will be much more aware that it doesn't just end at 2 years or 1 year courses, that it ends in students successfully transferring on to a 4-year institution for those that, of course, want to, and improve rates of transfer and ultimate degree completion, and that's your Kentucky agenda. So what you will learn through this process is that you will learn a lot from each other and about each other, but you'll also learn more about what these students need to be successful. I can tell you on my own institution, when we were in the midst of accreditation problems, and I encourage you, if you've got your accreditation coming up, to certainly use this. This is an assessment approach to learning about your institution. Use this for your accreditation. But when we were in the midst of being put on probation, this is what really, in many ways, saved us, because we were able to come together as a community to look at what we needed to do to help our students succeed. And 5 years later, as I mentioned earlier, we have 11% higher first to second year persistence, doubled our graduation rates, and we are well on our way to a very, very healthy enrollment. I really, really applaud you for taking on this process. It's difficult at times, but I guarantee you it's well worth it. And keep your eye on the prize for students. I'm here. I'm going to be here with you through the entire process. I'm very, very happy. I know when we're finished here, I'm going to have the opportunity to answer questions from any of you. And I'm really, really fortunate to be working with such a wonderful group of people. And I thank you and good luck.